Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be covering Xray governance and maintenance. This is the last of 11. I don't have enough fingers, but there was a total of 11 modules that I need to take or go through in order to then take a certification exam that I have to do shortly after this is over. And this is the last of the 11. So I'm very excited. We're going to be talking and presenting to y'all Xray governance and maintenance. So let's jump in so we can go take that test because we really got to go take a test here. All right, so if you're new here, hit the subscribe button, drop a like. If you're not, then same as always, we'll go through all the material, we'll watch a few videos, talk about it, provide some commentary, and really kind of just give you my expert guidance. I've been using Xray for the better part of 5 years now, 4 years, and so I'm pretty familiar with it, but I am learning quite a bit through these sessions, so I'm really glad we're taking these tests. Some of our goals here: understand the governance and maintenance goals, understand the administration and set of differences between Xray Cloud and Data Center, establish governance practices, implement effective maintenance practices, and promote awareness of Xray anti-patterns. That will be very key, folks. Some of our content is going to be the overview, the Xray DC versus Xray Cloud, hosting differences, the Xray administration and administration roles, performance in Xray, governance practices in Xray, maintenance practices in Xray, and Xray usage and monitors. All right, before you begin, you may want to take a look at our Xray set of courses. Now, we have done the Xray Cloud one, have not done the data center, but that's because data center has data in mind that is the end of Xray. So I didn't feel like we needed to invest a whole lot there. So definitely at least check out the Xray Cloud one. All right, here's our overview. So Xray is a comprehensive test management tool for Jira, and it integrates seamlessly with its features to optimize your testing process. To ensure Xray's functionality, establish a well-defined governance structure in Jira, and this course is designed to guide you through the governance and maintenance required. And so to ensure scalability and consistency, Jira elements like workflows, custom fields, issue types must be a part of your established governance and maintenance practices. So these are pretty much all the things that keep up a Jira administrator. And so basically, if they keep up your Jira admin, they should be keeping you up as well. Now, government is a set of policies, processes, and guidelines established to ensure the tool is used effectively, securely, and in alignment with organizational goals. And maintenance is a set of practices and procedures to ensure the tool respects governance, guidelines, and remains in good health. The success of a tool depends not just on the tool itself, but on how you manage it to meet your team's evolving needs. Governance and maintenance goals. Effective Xray governance balances, whoa, that's a very big word, balances flexibility with the need for reusability and scalability. By leveraging Jira's principles, admins can ensure Xray remains a robust and sustainable testing solution. So you want to make sure Xray is following some best practices here so that it can retain its integrity, because Xray is a very, very important tool in the integrity and overall integrity of the thing you're trying to develop and create. Xray provides the artifacts and the proof that whatever you did is good, but so your Xray needs to be like top notch so that everything kind of follows through. You can define guardrails for Xray, such as specifying which test environments are available, which workflows should be utilized. However, it's important to respect teams' needs as they may differ from standardized approaches. This can be achieved through project level adjustments. And this is usually why you would hire someone like release team so that we can guide you and help you out and help make sure your Xray and your Jira configured correctly. Now, what's essential to rely on Xray's defaults for strong guidelines to maintain simplicity, but flexibility to customize is equally important. Tailor configurations only when necessary to meet specific testing needs. Let's talk about promoting reusability. So make use of Jira strategy for reusability, shared schemes, issue screen, permissions, and workflows. From the user point of view, there are some practices that you should encourage to reduce clutter and promote reusability. Reuse test cases, avoid cloning, promote the use of modular tests, promote the use of preconditions to define reusable configurations for tests to apply to multiple test cases. Governance and maintenance. Make sure you have a good policy for data retention, as this allows you to make use of Xray unique features for auto-archiving available in both cloud and data center. Promote practices that respect limits, the number of test steps, the number of requirements linked to a test, maximum number of tests in a test plan, and others. Use lean configurations for workflows with minimal steps and transitions for high-volume issue types like test execution. And maintain Xray clutter-free, allows you to scale without hindering performance. All right, that's the first one. So a lot of speak about the why maintenance is good. So let's go take a look at some differences between Xray Cloud and Xray Data Center. And again, Data Center is going away. Like, we are on a 3-year journey where Data Center will cease to exist in a few years. So we're focusing on the cloud, folks. Okay, Xray is available for both cloud and data center. While both offer robust test management capabilities, there are some key differences that affect the governance and maintenance in several domains. They strongly advise getting the differences. They have an article here that they've published that are, especially if you have plans to move to the cloud. So Xray Data Center offers customization options at a global level and project level. You have things like tests and test step statuses, requirement coverage, sub-requirements, and default column layouts. At the project level, we have test steps fields and test run fields. And as within any project, you can customize workflows, fields, screens, permissions. As Xray is seamlessly integrated with Jira, you can take advantage of the Jira power of customization at your testing practice. Now, Xray Cloud offers both global and project level customizations with more options at the project level than Xray Data Center. So at the global level, we have the ability to do like test run options, defect links, workflow settings, other options, also customizable at the project level, like your test types, your testing environments. Then we have test and test setups. At the project level, though, you can see that there's a lot more options here. So test coverage and defect mapping. We have test types, test environments, test steps, and run fields, and the default column layout. So team-managed projects in Jira for Jira Cloud give the project administrator more customization power. Check if you can take advantage and promote more flexibility. Now, this is a nice little compare and contrast. So in Data Center, with respect to control, issue types are mapped requirements and defects globally. Issue types map requirements and defects at the project level. So very big first difference. On DC, which again is a dying breed, folks. Remember, DC is going to go away. Manage globally projects as requirements. On the cloud, API key access, user permissions to access data through the API. And that's if there's an API available. There's also max min or max limits, example, max n degree, requirements per report n degree, links added, and then Xray API. Okay, so I'm not sure what that is, but good to know. From a performance scalability is controlled by the organization. On the cloud side, it's controlled by Atlassian. Settings and controls like API request cap limits to prevent performance issues, so you can put a cap limit so that you don't overtax your system. But in the cloud, that's all kind of built in. But just know that clutter control is a crucial step to keep the system in good health, but it's a lot more performative in the cloud, but also because you also have a lot more limits in the cloud. From a data governance and storage, a data location is set by the organization, and in the cloud, it's managed by Xray. But the admin in cloud can control the data residency. Storage limits are controlled by the organization. Storage limits in Xray standard enforce storage management activities. And then in the data center, we have higher control on the compliance level and regulatory constraints. And on cloud, we have SOC 2 compliance to ensure data storage and processing security. From a deployment and maintenance, in the data center, upgrades are controlled by the admin. Upgrades are automatically done by Xray in the cloud. Version upgrades are done manually in the data center, and release tracks are available soon. I haven't seen this, so I'm curious to see when that comes out. Archiving. So set auto archiving for test execution in the data center and set auto archiving for test runs. So no test execution, but definitely on the test runs. In the data center, we can make use of Jira DC archiving to archive other Xray issue types. And in the cloud, we can make use of issue archiving at Jira Cloud to archive other Xray issue types. Folks, one thing that I want to call out and just kind of make sure you're aware of this and that you know this, when you're looking at documentation where you're trying to see, hey, is this feature possible? Is this something I can do? You want to make sure that you are reading and that you're thoroughly understanding. Are you reading documentation from the data center or from the cloud? Because Jira Data Center, Jira Cloud are very, very different under the hood at least. And so you don't want to be looking at the wrong one or referencing the wrong one, because otherwise your heart's going to be broken. To maintain Xray's performance, admins must address key factors like issue volume, storage, and workflows. We're going to dive deeper into how each one of these impacts governance and maintenance. So what affects Xray's performance? So issue volume. So Xray utilizes Jira issue types, those test executions. A high number, such as 100 million tests, can affect overall performance. Holy moly, that's a huge number, 100. million. Integrations and API. So frequent or complex API calls, especially for importing automated test results, can strain system resources. Workflows. Complex or highly customized workflows for test-related issues can slow down operations. And then test plans and test sets with more than 5,000 tests can impact performance during execution and reporting. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I don't know that I've ever seen a high limit on the Jira side. I know that at one team that I worked with a while back ago, they had a problem with test runs and like the limits of test runs that would be recorded. I'm not sure if it's still a problem. I always told them that they just had to rethink how they were doing their testing, which is the case with a lot of migrations from data center to cloud. When you come and hit the limits of cloud, you essentially just got to rethink and rewire your brain to work a little bit differently, because in the cloud, just things work a lot different. All right, extensive or complex reports, especially those covering large data sets, can degrade performance. Accumulation of attachments and test artifacts can also lead to storage bloat affecting performance. And then managing multiple test environments can complicate the calculation of requirements, test plans, and executions. Optimizing Xray performance does not require perfection in every area. Even if certain aspects are beyond your reach, focusing on actionable areas ensures consistent and reliable operations. So what can you control? Prioritize what you can manage. So focus on optimizing workflows, issue volume, storage, where admin's actions have a direct impact. Leverage predefined configurations and best practices to minimize the need for extensive customization. Adapt to constraints. Recognize hosting limitations between cloud and data center, and align efforts within those boundaries. Work with the Jira system administrator or IT teams to address areas like infrastructure that might be outside of admin control. Performance in Xray. What can you control? So regular monitoring and maintenance. So review of anti-patterns such as uncovered requirements or tests without executions. Collaborate with the QA teams and other stakeholders to align on priorities. And document known limitations and actions taken to mitigate their impact. Share them with your teams, folks. Share these insights with your teams to ensure transparency and shared commitment to the improvement. Performance is all about consistent effort. Focus on the areas you can control to maintain a high-performing Xray environment. Next, let's explore specific governance practices to help you further. Next page. Governance practices in Xray. Governance principles, practice principles. Start and understand out of the box. Determine boundaries and standards. Engage with QA to approve customizations, and focus on the future. Xray governance principles should guide your Xray setup and maintenance. As Xray makes use of Jira elements, when setting your governance strategy, you must include Jira general elements. So Xray governance must include your project creation and organization, your custom fields, workflows, schemes, permissions. Folks, everything here is what every Jira admin needs to know. This is just now, the last bullet point is very specific to just Xray. Moving on to best practices. Let's see. I think I'm stuck here. Are we moving along? I think we are. Here we go. Governance practices in Xray. Project creation and organization. This is a hard graph to read. I don't even know where to start. Will this project focus on testing requirements or both? Is the objective to support a specific team, product, or release? Define what is the organization model that best fits the team. All-in-one, separate requirements, testing, dedicated test repository. And then tailor. Start with out-of-the-box configurations and tailor them if needed. If. There's a big if, folks. Xray supports associations across different projects, enabling flexibility in how tests and executions are organized. For instance, you can add tests from one project to test executions in another, or mix tests from different projects within the same test execution or test set. And by understanding these organizational approaches, you can tailor Xray's implementation to best fit your team structure and processes. Governance practices in Xray, organizations, options, overview. We have an all-in-one here where everything, and we've covered this in other courses, folks, so this shouldn't be new, but if you're new to the channel or new to the stream, again, first, make sure you subscribe. But second, go and watch the list of all of our lives that we've done. There is one on like project strategies, and you should basically determine which of these three pictures here is going to be the right one for you and your team, because they each have their own impact. They all kind of affect how Jira and Xray are going to play together. So one option is you have one giant project where you put all your work items, whether it's a story, a task, a bug, and then all the Xray ones go together. Or if you go to this one here, you can have your stories, your bugs, and your subtask execution here, because those are your requirements. and then all your testing stuff is in its own project on the side. And then what I've seen most teams do is this one here, where all of our requirements development happening in one project, and then we have a test project for the Xray repository. Now, I guess I kind of lied. I haven't seen it exactly like this, but it's usually where testing is in a dedicated requirement, like repository project, and then we clone or use the references test steps. Xray data center, which you have an Xray specific setting at the global level, which allows you to check which projects have Xray installed. In the end, make sure you only enable Xray in the projects that you know will be used. At least that's from a performance perspective in Xray data center. And the cloud doesn't really matter. You do have limits now that Atlassian just started rolling out. I believe it's 150 work items. You can put up to 150 work items in Jira Cloud. So there are some limits that you got to work around, but 150 is still a lot. It's a lot. Okay. Let's get into governance practices in Xray using custom fields. So these are questions, folks, that you should be asking yourself, right? Because when you're the administrator, when you're in Jira, you don't want to just like give everybody everything they want, right? There's certain like pushes and toggles and like toggles that you have to do, right? There's like a push and a pull. Then you have to negotiate with your project managers or your program managers or your scrum masters or your product managers, right? You got to like negotiate because you're the Jira administrator. Usually when you're deploying Xray, it's on the Jira administrator to do this. And so there's a lot of conversations that have to happen. And when you're talking about custom fields, this is not just great information from a Xray perspective, but it's great information to have from an administrator, right? Like if you're a Jira administrator and somebody's asking you, hey, can you add a custom field? These are like questions you should be asking, right? So like challenge, do we really need a new custom field, right? Challenge the necessity and be conservative on the new creation of a new field, right? In the cloud, we now have a new limit where you can have 700 custom fields in a field configuration. And that's a hard limit now, right? So if you go over that, I have never hit them, but I'm assuming bad things are going to happen, right? So you want to be very careful because every new custom field is just adding a little bit more complexity to your Jira. So you want to kind of hold the line. You want to enforce the reusability and adapt context if needed. Avoid duplication and avoid overlapping custom fields. Ask yourselves, can we reuse an existing one? And then monitor them, right? Monitor them regularly. Audit your custom fields and identify if they're being used. And then if they're not, get rid of them. Atlassian is supposed to be in the cloud going to be rolling out a new feature that lets you figure out which custom fields are being used and which ones are not, so you can more easily get rid of them. Xray specific custom fields. So Xray does introduce several custom fields necessary for test management, and these fields are automatically created upon installation. Nonetheless, what's important to know is that you not to modify these Xray custom fields, as they are integral into its functionality, and altering their default settings may lead to unforeseen behavior. So don't mess with these. Xray specific custom fields, we have our test run status custom field. Well, so what is this field for? So this is when you need to report the current status of a test concerning specific versions, aiding and version specific quality assessments. Test set status. This is useful for tracking the progress and quality of group tests, ensuring readiness for deployment. And then we have our requirement status. This tracks the fulfillment and validation status of requirements by aggregating the results of associated tests. It reflects the overall test execution outcomes and provides a clear view of requirements coverage and quality through the development stages. So some of these Xray specific fields, get familiar with the purpose of configuring the versions behavior in custom fields like test run status, test set status, and requirement status, and promote their usage with the QA team to ensure alignment with project needs. And then on the data center, we have default columns that are a little bit different. So promote reusable default for standardization, help testers and QA managers agree on standard approach that should be used across the organization, and set defaults consistently to avoid clutter. All right, so lots of takeaways here, lots and lots of takeaways, folks. These sections there's a lot of sections. They're not too bad. But holy moly, I think we're going to be here for at least an hour here, folks. So if you're watching this, hit that subscribe button. If you're watching the replay, let me know in the comment section if you have any questions, and I can always answer them a little bit later. All right, let's talk about schemes. Again, these are very heavy on the Jira side, folks. So this is more a Jira administrative thing, but since there's so much overlap between the behavior of how Xray behaves and how Jira behaves, these are just generic, really, really good questions to ask yourself. So understand, or maybe not even ask yourself, but ask your team. So understand schemes available and how to use. So there are several Jira schemes that can be used to customize your projects. Understand them and learn how to benefit from them. Explore customization capabilities to fit them from your organization needs. So customize to our needs. Promote reusability. Use them as consistency tool for process and testing practices. Promote the reusability across teams. Our governance practices in Xray. So we have our screen schemes. They're going to be a little bit differently between data center and cloud, but they're determined which custom fields are displayed during specific issue operation screens. The Xray integration introduces. Wow, I just made up introduction and introduces as one word. Custom screens tailored for its use for its issue types, such as tests, test plans, and test execution. So just keep in mind that when you add the Xray, it's going to add extra screens to the thing. On the field configurations, this is what they look like from between Xray data center and cloud. Define the behavior, for example, which fields are going to be required or hidden. Xray adds custom fields necessary for test management to the default field configuration. So this is important. This is kind of interesting because Atlassian is going to get rid of field configurations from what I'm hearing. So I'm curious to see how Xray is going to update this. Some things to avoid: having too many schemes to manage and redundant fields or schemes which can confuse end users who may not know which fields to fill or why certain fields exist. Consider adopting clear and descriptive naming conventions, for example, test create screen. And then performance impact. Excessive custom fields can lead to slower system performance, especially when queuing or indexing large volumes of data. Faster, well-designed schemes with only necessary fields lead to better performance, simplified governance, and more user-friendly experience. Focus on maintaining simplicity and standardization across projects while allowing flexibility only where it is truly required. All right, so we are done with that module there. We're going to move on over to optimizing workflows for Xray. And folks, these are just great questions to ask yourself as a Jira and Atlassian administrator. To determine your active statuses. So statuses reflect what are the different phases of your testing practice. So for example, if your test case needs approval, you should create a status to reflect that. What needs to be done to move an issue to the next status? Understand the activities needed and mapped as the transitions. So you should have a good understanding of transitions. Set conditions, validators, and post functions. In the cloud, this is all renamed. These are just now rules, but they're still there. But understand how limits, validations, and actions should happen after the issue is moved from the status. Test lifecycle workflow example. So this is the default configuration. We have a to-do, in progress, and done. And this is one for your test where you have very specific like approval steps and review steps and things of that nature. Xray specific workflows. So while adjusting, customizing workflows is not mandatory for managing issue types, they play a crucial role in streamlining the lifecycle of testing artifacts. So Xray enhances this process by providing a powerful control mechanism that integrates seamlessly with Jira workflows, ensuring governance and efficiency. All right, permission restriction on the workflow. So you can define workflow transitions that require restricted access, such as moving an issue into closed or approved by adding conditions such as users in the role of QA managers that before it could be approved. So this ensures that only authorized users can approve task executions and maintaining quality control. Again, folks, this is not just specific to Xray. Like you can literally do this for other statuses. Maybe you have like a PO review or a UAT test or something like that. These are just generic good governances to have. Very, very important. You can enforce validators like fixed version must be filled when moving to test execution to in progress. And finally, you can set post functions like event trigger to notify user updates and feel like an assignee. Some things to avoid. So overcomplicating workflows, inconsistent configurations, and missing final statuses. Consider using workflows for managing your test lifecycle to help you enforce approvals or other organizational specifications. In environments with high issue volumes, overcomplicated workflows potentially degrade system performance. Remember that for accurate governance around workflows in Xray, focus on these Xray-specific mechanisms in conjunction with your workflow controls. This is going to ensure you precise alignment with testing processes, particularly those around test execution management. All right, we're going to move on over to permissions governance. Not sure what they're going to talk about here, but let's see. We have identify a role. So determine which roles can perform actions. Should you create a role for the quality manager? Customize the permission scheme to address the needs of each role. explore issue security for even more advanced settings. And folks, the keyword here is role. We don't want to be doing this at the user level. Groups okay, but role is going to be your best. And then customize specific settings. Now, this is for Xray DC only. Data Center offers more granularity for Xray specific permissions. So Xray DC offers a set of unique permissions which are added to Jira when installing Xray. And so you can override assign test run, so allow users to set the test run assignee without editing the issues, without the edit and assign issues permission. They can create folders, delete folders, all folders, delete their own folders, move and edit folders, move and edit their own folders, and move issues. So these are going to be in the data center. I'm going to breeze right through them, folks, because we don't use data center. Overdoing permission leads to inefficiency, confusion, and governance issues. Focus on simplicity, standardization, and scalability to maintain a Jira environment that supports collaboration and productivity while minimizing administrative burden. So avoid inconsistent permissions and workflows. A tester might have execute test permissions in one project but lack the same access in another or similar project. Consider assigning permissions through projects roles rather than individual users or groups, limiting granting permissions to any logged in user unless necessary. This is by default, folks, so you might want to turn this one off. This one right here gets a lot of people in a lot of trouble. So you might want to be very careful with this one. And then performance impacts. So excessive and overly detailed permission schemes can slightly increase system processing times, especially in large Jira instances. You don't really worry about this in the cloud, but in the data center, apparently I'm learning, because I don't use data center all that much, and it's been a minute since I've had to build out a data center, and apparently the more complications you add to it, the more slow things become over there. We have their Xray specific elements, so we're going to have our test types, our test statuses, and our test environments. So understand the defaults. Do the test types defaults enough, right? Like you have your manual, your cucumber, your generic. Are these enough, or do you need to make custom ones? Tailor it to your needs. So add more test types or test statuses if needed. Ensure that the customization is shared by most of the team. So the test types in Xray Data Center look like this, and the cloud they look like this. They're basically the exact same thing. So just know that we have the three: the manual, the unstructured, and the gherkin. Some things to avoid: having too many test types, as it makes it difficult to maintain consistency across projects and leads to misclassification. Consider using an alternative method such as labels to classifying tests, such as performance, security, regressions. A common test type that is used is called exploratory. And then Xray and Jira rely on efficiency indexing and querying. Having unnecessary test types increases system complexity and computational efforts, leading to performance degradation. I don't know how true that is in the cloud, because again, cloud is optimized a little bit different though, even though they're adding more limits, but I think you still get a lot more power and flexibility in the cloud. In the data center, we have our test statuses, which appear to be the same. So just don't make too many, like question each one. You want to make sure you don't overcomplicate it. So avoid creating too many. As they increase complexity and confuse users, inconsistent or similar colors can lead to misclassification. This one, folks, trust me when I tell you, having too many things with the same color is just going to confuse the heck out of your team. And there's not enough colors in the world of Jira, so you want to make sure you are using this very wisely. Consider focusing on essential statuses that align with testing workflows. Ensure they're well documented and select distinct colors for easy identification. And excessive custom statuses increases database load, which again doesn't impact us in the cloud, so we're going to skip over that. For every change request, make sure to review based on the impacts we mentioned, and in either platform. You should have a test project where you can test changes on the workflow. Quality gates. Quality gates are predefined checkpoints in the software development lifecycle that ensure specific quality standards are met before progressing to the next phase. These work in unison with workflows, so you can establish effective quality gates to enhance product reliability and readiness. In our documentation, you can learn how to set this up for all issues covered by test and all issues close to have no open bugs. All right, moving along here. I don't know that we're halfway, because I'm in a little bit of trouble here, folks. We are like 31% done. We're 30 minutes into this. This may bleed. We may have to do a part 2, or we may have to read faster. All right, maintenance is a team effort that requires clear roles, consistent schedules, and focuses on critical areas. Start with the comprehensive baseline audit and ensure all changes align with the long-term organizational goals and governing principles. So maintain your practices should be accomplished and to ensure the health of your Xray customizations. Xray maintenance practices include upgrading Xray if you're in the data center, managing projects, managing issue archiving, managing test environments, and managing storage, which is in the cloud only. All right, that was a quick one. Yeah, we're gonna try to kick. We need. I mean, I'm 30 minutes into this, folks, and I need to get to 50%. We're not getting there. These are taking a while. Upgrade Xray. Teams are using the most updated version with the latest features and fix pack. Again, this is for data center only. Depends on your organization policy. You might want to update as soon as the new version is released, or in a cadence. I know that when I used to do these, we were like 2 versions behind the latest always, so that somebody else could work out the kinks, because the last thing you want to be doing is working out the kinks yourself. So verify that the new Xray version is compatible with your Jira instance. Compatibility information is typically available on the Xray release notes and documentation. Before upgrading, create a full backup of your instance, including database and application. This safeguards against data loss during the upgrade process. So log into your Jira, navigate to manage apps, find Xray, and then install. In the cloud, folks, it's much easier than this. You just click an update button. In fact, most of the time, just update by itself. Ooh, we're going to learn some more. We got a step-by-step for upgrading in the data center. So we're just going to power through this one because honestly, like, oh, it's a full tutorial. Next, we're going to click on Manage Apps. Oh, I have to click it. Then click on this Manage Apps. Then we're going to click on Next. We're going to go down to Xray, Update, and ta-da, your Xray is updated. That was kind of cool. Not going to lie. So how do you upgrade Xray in the cloud? So Xray in the cloud will upgrade automatically. There's nothing you need to do. Upgrading Xray is a critical process to ensure that your testing environment remains optimized, secure, and aligned with the latest features. So by verifying compatibility, performing thorough backups, and test post-grade functionality, you can minimize risk and maintain seamless operations. Upgrading Xray is also a change event. So make sure that you train your teams in the new release features or any new change that may affect your testing practice. I think we're catching up. We're at 42% here. I think half the problems is application takes a while to load. So managing your test environment. So avoid clutter and prevent performance constraints. Every 6 months or as part of the schedule review cycle, before migrating to Xray Cloud, review test environments to avoid performance bottlenecks in the cloud. Jira administrators with the collaboration users, QA testers for specific test environments. Right, managing test environments effectively is crucial to maintaining system performance in both Xray Data Center and Xray Cloud. Improper handling can lead to performance issues due to branching and test runs. Good to know. Again, I don't spend a whole lot of time in data center, folks. So let me know in the chat how much are you impacted by data center? Because it's gonna go away. It's going away, and half these problems don't exist in the cloud. So that's another reason why you should be in the cloud. Run queries, the JQL or database to verify test environments. Use a pie chart with statistical type test environment and the dashboard. Validate with your team which environments could be merged or deleted because they're redundant or results are cluttered accumulations. For example, production, prod, produ, GA, aren't they all the same? Identify the possible errors and then perform a bulk change and correct them. As test environment label is a label field, to delete them, you need to remove the usage on issues. All right, the next tutorial, we're going to see how to do this, but in data center. This is interesting that we can walk through these steps in data center, but they don't have them for the cloud. All right, so here, what we're going to do, this is kind of interesting because it's not really a video, but we're kind of just walking through the steps. So we're going to click complete here, create a saved filter. So let's start by creating a new filter. So you're going to click on issues, search for issues. And then we're going to do our search, but we're going to click on advanced. Then we're going to type in the JQL. In this particular case, we're looking for our environments, test environments. Save it as test environments, and then that's it. Now we got our pie chart for managing our test environments. Click on dashboards and test environment here. Create a new gadget. Find the pie chart. Click on add gadget. Set the statistic type to test environment. Click on next. And then you'll see your information here. Now that we have all the issues, you can access it over here on the right-hand side. You can bulk change those items, and we can change their value, right? So instead of it being, if we're going to remove a test environment, we can just bulk change it and change it to the new value by selecting the new value, and that's it. I do like that Xray logo. That's kind of cool, the way they make that happen there. How to manage test environments. So the global, navigate to the manage apps. Okay, so we're just gonna learn all this, folks. I'm gonna skip this because I think it's more valuable to just see the step-by-step tutorial that they got for us, because there's a lot of step-by-step tutorials. All right, so let's see. Here, we're going to begin. So let's see what we do after we begin. All right, so we're gonna go to settings and then apps. We're then gonna scroll down on the left and find the test environments, which are here. We're then going to create an environment by clicking next and the blue button, and then give it a name, save. You'll see that it's created at the bottom. And then if you need to edit an existing test environment, we're gonna basically go to that environment and then click the action button and then click edit, and now you can change the description and the URL. How to delete a test environment. So we're gonna have two options. You can either go individually to the actions or through bulk actions. So here we're gonna go down to the test environment we wanna get rid of. We're gonna click on delete. We're gonna confirm that we do wanna delete it, and that's it. Or we can click on the actions, then delete, and then we're gonna get an error because it's being used. So now we have to go do the cleanup. So we gotta go find this thing and then essentially delete it once it's completely not used anymore. All right. So that's the biggest takeaway here, folks, is you can't delete an environment that is currently being used. Avoid project-specific settings unless extreme necessarily or per regulatory requirements. By allowing the setting to be centrally managed by Jira admin, you're contributing to a less cluttered Jira and Xray. As test environments can be managed at the project level, you may request assistance to your project administrators to help you maintain tasks. All right, let's go look at the next tutorial. Let's see, managing test environments. These are actually kind of cool, but I just wish they moved a little faster. Because yes, I know, I see it. I just don't want to. Okay, so let's start by navigating the setting. Go to project settings on the left-hand side. I was told recently that this might have moved. Expand apps, find Xray down there, and then go to your test environments, and then you can add an existing one. Holy moly, we're going to do all this? Hopefully, okay, we are. We're going to go through all of them. So we're going to add an existing test environment. So we're going to go to the, okay, being in the projects, right? Remember, we're in the space. We're going to go find the ones that are global and pull them in. You can pull in multiple if you want to, and then just hit next. You can create a new test environment that's local to the space. You're just going to click on the add environment, give it a name, description, URL, and you'll see that it'll be added at the bottom. Editing a test environment. So you're going to click on go to find the test environment you want to edit, click on the action button, click on the edit button, and then you can change the description or the URL. You can't change the name. Deleting an environment, which I'm assuming is going to be very similar to the global one, you can basically just go hit the action button, right? But the problem is you can't delete anything that's currently in use. So as long as it's empty and not being used for anything else, you can delete them. Okay, that's it. Oh, no, apparently I got more. Xray Cloud, particularly under project settings, allows the project administrator to enable the inline creation of test environments during execution. So if you're executing on a test execution, you can actually click on this open test environments, and then you can create a test environment on the fly, which is much better here. I don't know how much I like that, though. I think I'd rather have things centralized, but. Right, avoid performing constraints caused by huge data storage. Respect the Xray limits for Xray standard, which is 100 gigabytes. This, folks, you would think you don't run out, but your artifacts play a huge role here. Depending on the volume data, you can set it monthly, by quarterly, over 6 months. And for Xray standard, if you're above 75% storage, you'll be unable to add attachments to the test runs. Xray DC does not support storage management feature. Storage is managed and controlled by the organization. This one's like, how big is your hard drive? In the cloud, you have 100 gigabytes. And that's it. Like if you run out of storage in the cloud, you're done. It's interesting that now we've toggled over to doing these videos, but in the cloud. All right, you're gonna go to the settings when the gear, go to apps. We're gonna look for Xray, which all of this has changed, by the way, folks. We're gonna go to our storage. You're gonna see how much storage we actually have in the cloud. Go to next, and again, once you hit 100% or once you hit your threshold, like bad things happen. So you're gonna want to delete any artifacts that are in here that are just taking up space. Like MP4s, see, all these would take up tremendous amount of space. So you may want to clean this up periodically because I've been in situations where they take up a lot of room. After you complete this activity, you should be able to estimate the time required to reach 75% utilization and then kind of set up a plan. All right, let's go to the video on managing versions. I kind of prefer the video because now I got to click everywhere. Yeah. And then I got to do like 10 times and there's things so slow. So click on releases, click complete. Now we got to the releases section. We're going to create a version. This is a Jira-ism thing. This is not specific to Xray. So we're just creating a version like we normally would inside of Jira. So there's nothing special about what we're learning here. This is just how you create and use fixed versions inside of Jira. So if you've ever done this, this should be totally the same. Adding issues to the version, you're just going to open up a work item, go to the fixed version, and just add it. And that's it. Oh boy, let's see, bulk changes. These are useful if you want to change these in bulk. We're kind of rolling through the punches here, folks. These aren't the most exciting of videos to do. All right, yeah, we're just kind of clicking through all the options. Like, I like this style, but I just wish there was, I kind of like the videos more because I can narrate them a little bit easier. But yeah, this is how you merge versions. Again, these are Jira isms. This is not Xray specific. I'm surprised they're spending this much time in teaching you how to use Jira, right? But you can actually release the versions too so that they can go away. And if you don't want to release it and you just kind of want to hide it, you can archive it as well. And this will also make the version disappear from your dropdown so your teams don't use it. And then the most drastic one is you delete it. Again, deletion in Jira is normally like a very drastic thing. So only do it when you truly, truly, truly want to delete something. Otherwise, try to refrain from deleting anything. Managing projects, avoid performance constraints caused by misuse of projects and huge data volumes. And depending on the data volume, you can set it monthly, quarterly, every 6 months. So let's see. Let's go over to the video on how to manage project requirements in data center. This is interesting how they're just toggling back and forth between the two applications. So we're going to learn how to disable a project. So going to the project settings here, go to the summary, and then go to actions on the top right, disable Xray requirement coverage, and then that's it. Now we can do it globally, or I guess this is how you turn it back on. Right. Now we're going to do it globally. So you're going to go administration, manage apps, find requirements, projects, and then you can add a project here. You can delete them. You can add more. You can search for them. You can filter for them. Find the delete button, delete it, and that's it. Oh, now we're going to do it in the cloud. Okay, same steps, but in the cloud. Let's see what we got to do over here. So we're going to go to the project settings, which has changed. It's not there anymore. I'm going to go to apps, Xray settings. We got our test coverage section, and you're just going to remove all these items if you needed to. I don't think a lot of people usually delete them. And then we got our defect one as well. And that's it. All right, a couple more topics. We are almost done. I think we're going to be, I think I sped up too fast because now I'm overcompensating. This is probably going to take us the full hour here. So let's move over to archiving the work. And we're going to do it once in data center, then we'll do it in cloud, and then we're basically done. So thank you all for watching so far and subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys' support here. So Xray Data Center offers the possibility to automatically archive. I'm not misreading that. Archive a test execution. All right, so let's start by navigating into the administrations and then manage apps. Manage apps here. We're going to go find our text execution thing. Okay, so we're good. And then, okay, that was kind of fast. Click more on the work item. So we're actually archiving a work item at this point. And that's it. So it'll archive the whole thing. And if you ever need to find them, I'm assuming, or bulk archive, you can. Oh, so bulk archive does not exist in Jira Cloud. Huh. I wonder if that'll ever come to the cloud. All right, now we can go to issues here, find your archived issues, and this will find you all the archived issues. You can restore them as well if you want to. And it doesn't look like they have a bulk restore. So let's see how to archive an entire project. So go to the projects up here. So this is a global setting. You're gonna find your project you want to archive, click on the action button, then archive by clicking on the blue button, and now you've archived it. And so now if you want to undo it, you're gonna go to the archive section. I should note that in the cloud, this is a premium and enterprise only feature. So you're not a premium or enterprise subscriber of Jira, because again, they're showing us Jira stuff, which is quite interesting. You wouldn't have, like, you don't have this capability unless you're on a premium. Not of Xray, but of Jira. So let's see what they do here. So this is my bread and butter. All right, so let's see. So here we're gonna go to our test runs. We're gonna click on the gear, go to apps, which by the way, all this stuff changes. Test run archiving. Okay, so this is specific to the test runs, and you can archive your test runs. Now we're gonna talk about archiving the issue itself, which is again no longer an issue. We're gonna go to a list view so we can find our work, find the item you wanna archive, click on the action menu, scroll down to archive. You do need to have the archive permission, folks, by the way. This will not work if you do not have archive permissions. And you should also know that you cannot bulk archive in bulk. You can restore, so you can bring it all back, but you cannot do this in bulk at the issue level. Now, at the space level, you can definitely go to the settings. You're going to go to, this is now different. I don't think it's called spaces now. Find your space. And then again, this is, folks, if you're not on the premium or enterprise versions of Jira, you're not going to have this archive capability. Xray usage. All right. So usage monitor, apart from the maintenance practices to help you. Okay. Apart from maintenance practices that help that you can schedule with a specific cadence, we can also set dashboards to help us monitor. So these are going to be Xray specific dashboards for JQL queries that we're going to set as our dashboard. And these are the recommendations, like find manual steps without steps. I don't know. I think these must be, yeah, these are definitely DC because these don't exist in the cloud. So just keep that in mind. Xray Cloud does not support JQL to make it harder. Set an Xray usage. So during 2025, we expect to release JQL functions for cloud and also dedicated. So I'm curious if they actually did, because we are now in 2026. So let's go see what we have in the last section here. All right, we got our test. Holy moly, 7 questions. Whew, let's see how we do. Which of the following actions are required when deleting a custom test run status in Xray? Deleting the status automatically, map all affected tasks. Yeah, I think it's this one. Which governance principle ensures better scalability in Xray? Grant global admin permissions to all testers, archive all test cases, avoid overcomplicating workflows, create custom fields. So definitely not this. I don't know if you want to do this either. I think it's got to be this one. It's the only one that makes sense. Having more uncovered requirements than requirements covered by tests is common and acceptable. False. It's an anti-pattern. That's the only one that felt right too. When managing permissions in Xray, what should be prioritized in maintenance? So grant edit rights to everybody, assign global admin rights, avoid using schemes. Okay, that one's the only one that makes sense as well. So that's all that applied. Great. What's going to affect performance? This one. This one. I hope this is not like get them all right. This one, this one. Huge number of test environments. All right, let's go with that. This one I'm probably not going to get right. You have too many. All right, match the maintenance activity. So disable Xray coverage for unused projects. Ooh, focuses on resources, avoid clutter, ensure. Let's go with that. Regularly update. Yeah, that one's for sure. Archive outdated issues. Manage test environments. Let's see if we're right. Oh, we got one more question. Jeez. What are Xray specific elements that should be a part of your governance practice? test types, test steps, statuses. Let's go with the first one. 8,000. All right, barely passed it. Whew. What did I get wrong? Yeah, see, ooh, I got all the check ones right. Ooh, that's cool. And these two were swapped. So disable Xray coverage is focus resources on active and relevant projects, and archive outdated issues is to improve performance. Cool. All right, well, we passed. We're gonna start our survey here. I'll give them an 8. I liked it. An A, submit. An A, submit. Let's go to the end, get our certificates so our boss knows that we did our job. And thank you. Complete the unit. And now I get to go take a test today, folks. So I'm going to download my certificate here, again, so the boss knows. And that's pretty much it. I am now going to go take a test that I have to go do. And it's free, and so now I got to go take that. So thank you all for watching. I'm not going to bore you with me potentially not passing the test because I hate taking tests. So thank you all for watching. Thank you all. I hope you found this 11-section course is beneficial. Do subscribe, though. We are going to come back and do the 4 enterprise trainings for you all here. So make sure you hit the subscribe button, drop a like, and we'll see you all next time. Bye, everyone.